Let's go back to the phone lines. We'll talk to Jay next in Dallas, Texas. Jay is listening on Sirius XM 131. Hi, Jay.
Yes, good afternoon, Hank. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Oh, great. I just have a question. Being the fact that we live in the modern day era, and it seems to me that we spend a lot of time trying to disprove evolution and prove the facts that what is written in the Bible is true, and versus evolution and how things might have gotten created without a God. My question is this: how much should we concentrate on trying to prove the proof that may lie according to the Bible versus what the Bible describes as just having faith? And so I come to kind of thinking about the scene where Simon asks Jesus, can I see? And then he shows his hand, and Jesus says, oh, you believe because you have seen. Versus, the Bible tells us that, the promise to Abraham in that all his children will be saved by faith. So how do you tell an unbeliever that there's so much that you can kind of disclose on look at where the Bible shows and look at some of the artifacts or some of the things that have happened in the past, but how do you let someone know that eventually you have to let go of trying to prove God, and then you just have to allow your heart to have faith? That's my question.
Well, I don't think that Christian faith ever calls us to blind faith, but rather faith in evidence. That's why Paul in Romans chapter 1 talks about God's eternal power, divine nature, clearly seen through what has been made, so that men are without excuse. I myself benefited greatly in coming to faith in Christ by looking at the evidences for the historic Christian faith. And I think that these evidences are not only important in terms of pre-evangelism, using your well-reasoned answer as a springboard or an opportunity to share the grace and goodness of God, but also as post-evangelism, in the sense that when the winds of doubt beat upon your house of faith, you can cling to those pillars and posts. God created the universe, and Jesus Christ is God and demonstrated that he is God through the immutable fact of resurrection, and the Bible is a reliable authority for faith and practice. So we're not called to blind faith, we're called to faith and evidence. And I think also as Christians, we need to be able to cast down the pretensions that set themselves up against a biblical worldview. If, for example, there is no God, if all is merely methodological naturalism, then what you end up with is no free choice. Everything is fatalistically determined by brain chemistry and genetics. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There's no purpose to life. There's no purpose to history. So these are very, very crucial issues. And in a post-truth culture, I think it's important for Christians to be able to communicate not only what they believe, but why they believe what they believe, and then in whom they have believed. In other words, give a good apologetic for the nature of God in whom we have cast our hope. Because even God is being vilified in increasingly strident terms in our culture.